When you think of the new world in One Piece, what comes to mind? For many fans, it's a place of mystery, danger, and opportunity. It's a realm where the seas themselves seem to test the resolve of anyone daring enough to enter, where every island hides a new challenge, and where only the strongest and smartest can survive. The New World is a threshold, a crucible, a place that separates the ordinary pirates from those destined for legend. It's a world of unpredictability, where even seasoned captains find themselves at the mercy of forces far beyond their understanding. And at the very top of these forces stands the Yonko, pirates whose power has reshaped the balance of the seas, whose names alone evoke fear, awe, and respect across all four blues. Among them, perhaps none are more imposing than Kaido, the so-called strongest creature in the world, a being whose reputation as an unstoppable force has spread across the oceans like wildfire. Now pause for a moment and imagine this scenario. The Straw Hat Pirates have just crossed into the New World. Luffy, their fearless captain, stands at the bow of the Thousand Sunny, his eyes alight with the thrill of adventure. The wind whips through his hair, the sea stretches endlessly before him, a vast expanse of unknown dangers and untold treasures. He has just emerged from the first half of his journey. He has survived countless battles, defeated powerful enemies, and grown stronger with each challenge. His body is honed from training, his mind sharp from experience, and his spirit as unyielding as ever. He believes, as he always does, that no challenge is too great, no opponent too powerful, and no obstacle too daunting. But what if the first island he reaches in the New World isn't a place of wonder, isn't a test of cunning or strategy, but instead becomes the stage for a confrontation with one of the most terrifying entities the world has ever known? What if, in that very moment, Kaido himself, towering, menacing, and nearly indestructible, appeared before Luffy, not as a distant threat to be feared in the future, but here and now at the very start of this chapter of his journey? This is not just a simple what-if scenario. This is a complete rewriting of the story, a reimagining of Luffy's growth, and a radical shift in the narrative of the New World. The implications are staggering. Luffy's arrival in the New World is supposed to be a gradual process, a slow climb through the seas where he gains strength, allies, and experience. The journey to Challenger Yonko is meant to take years, to test him against the world's strongest under controlled circumstances, giving him the chance to adapt, to learn, and to evolve. But placing Kaido at his doorstep changes everything. It transforms the New World from a realm of potential and opportunity into a crucible of survival, a place where every decision, every movement, and every ounce of strength matters, or else it could be the end. Consider, for a moment, the nature of Kaido himself. He is a being of unparalleled power. Even among the Yonko, he is feared for his sheer physical dominance, his regenerative capabilities, and his relentless pursuit of destruction. The seas tremble at the sound of his name, villages collapse under his wrath, and fleets of ships stand no chance against him. He is not merely a challenge, he is a living, breathing force of nature, a storm incarnate. In canon, Luffy encounters Kaido only after years of preparation, after training under the best mentors, mastering advanced haki, and gaining allies capable of standing beside him. But in this alternate scenario, none of that exists. Luffy is raw, untested against this level of threat. He carries the same determination, courage, and ingenuity that has defined him since the very start of his journey, but he faces an adversary whose power dwarfs anything he has ever confronted. Now, the question arises, how would Luffy react? How would his spirit, his creativity, and his unyielding will confront a being who makes even the most formidable opponents tremble? Luffy's defining trait is not his strength, it is his refusal to accept defeat, his ability to push beyond limits, and his capacity to inspire others in the face of impossible odds. Against Kaido, this trait becomes both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it ensures that Luffy will fight with every fiber of his being, never backing down, never surrendering, and never losing hope. On the other hand, it places him in a situation where brute determination alone may not be enough to survive. The juxtaposition of Luffy's indomitable will against Kaido's overwhelming might sets the stage for a battle that is as much psychological and emotional as it is physical. Imagine the scene. The sky darkens as the storm of Kaido's presence approaches. Waves crash against the Thousand Sunny with unprecedented ferocity. The crew watches in awe and fear as their captain stands tall, ready to face a foe that seems larger than life, larger than the world itself. Every instinct tells them to flee, every fiber of their being screams for caution, yet Luffy steps forward, a smile on his face, eyes burning with determination. This is not recklessness, it is courage. It is the essence of what it means to be the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates. But it is also a moment of utter peril, a moment that could redefine everything they know about survival, power, and the nature of the new world. The philosophical question at the heart of this scenario is this: what defines a pirate's strength? Is it raw power, experience, and mastery of abilities? Or is it spirit, ingenuity, and the refusal to yield, even when all odds are stacked against you? In canon, Luffy's confrontations with Yonko occur after careful preparation, allowing him to test these limits safely, albeit still at immense risk. Here, those boundaries are obliterated. Luffy faces the ultimate test without warning, without preparation, and without the safety net of allies or experience. The result is unpredictable, it is chaotic, and it is the kind of confrontation that leaves a permanent mark on both the individual and the world around them. And that is precisely why this what if matters. It is not just about imagining a fight. It is about exploring the essence of Luffy as a character. It is about questioning how he grows, how he adapts, and how his spirit responds when confronted with an insurmountable obstacle. Would he survive? Would he be crushed? Or would he find a way to turn the impossible into the foundation for an even greater journey? The possibilities are as vast as the new world itself, each choice and outcome rippling through the story in profound and unpredictable ways. In the end, this alternate scenario asks us to confront the ultimate question. What happens when the raw potential of the new world meets the raw determination of a pirate who refuses to yield? When Luffy, at his most untested, stands against Kaido, at his most unstoppable, the stage is set for a confrontation that redefines courage, strength, and the meaning of being a pirate in the new world. It is a test not just of body and technique, but of heart, will, and the very essence of what it means to face the impossible and keep moving forward, no matter the cost. As the Thousand Sunny cuts through the turbulent waters of the new world, the Straw Hat Pirates stand at the precipice of adventure, unlike anything they have encountered before. The world beyond the Red Line is raw, wild, and unpredictable. For Monkey D. Luffy, the captain of this motley crew, the new world is a test unlike any he has faced. Unlike the Grand Line's first half, where pirates could gauge threats with relative precision, here every island holds mysteries, and every horizon could conceal forces strong enough to reshape the seas. And Luffy, for all his experience and growth, steps into this uncharted expanse armed with what he has, nothing more and nothing less. At this stage in his journey, Luffy is not the Yonko-level force we see later in Wano, or after the 2-year time skip. He is strong, yes, immensely so compared to ordinary pirates. But in the grand scale of the new world, he is still raw potential. His physical strength has been honed through countless battles. His fists strike faster. His body moves with unparalleled elasticity thanks to the Gomu Gomu no Mi. And his endurance has grown through repeated near-death experiences. He has survived the terrifying power of the Marines, outwitted cunning foes, and endured pain that would break the resolve of most. Yet compared to the titans of the New World, the Yonko and their commanders, he is still a rookie entering the lion's den. Luffy's abilities at this point can be described as formidable but incomplete. Gear Second, his technique of accelerating blood flow to enhance speed and strength, allows him to move and strike at rates that defy ordinary comprehension. His punches can break through strong defenses and create shockwaves capable of disorienting enemies. Gear Third, inflating his bones to deliver massive blows, provides the raw, destructive force necessary to challenge mid-tier New World pirates. However, these abilities come at a cost. Gear Second strains his body, and Gear Third, though powerful, requires time to recover and exposes him to vulnerability during its preparation. In the New World, where enemies are not only strong but also cunning, these limitations are dangerous liabilities. Moreover, Luffy's mastery of haki at this stage is rudimentary compared to what he will achieve later. He can use observation haki to sense attacks and armament haki to reinforce his body and attacks, but his control and application are not yet refined. He cannot yet imbue his attacks with advanced haki techniques like Busoshoku enhancement or Kenbun Shoku prediction at a level that would allow him to match the seasoned Yonko commanders. His haki, while useful, is more instinctual than precise, a reflection of a fighter who relies heavily on intuition, creativity, and raw willpower rather than calculated strategy. At the same time, Luffy is armed with an unshakable spirit. This is what makes him different from every other pirate he has faced so far. In the New World, strength alone does not guarantee survival. Adaptability, ingenuity, and the ability to inspire allies are equally crucial. Luffy possesses all of these in abundance. He has repeatedly demonstrated an uncanny ability to read situations on the fly, to improvise in battle, and to push past limits when his back is against the wall. His creativity in combat, stretching, bouncing, inflating, spinning, and combining techniques in ways opponents cannot predict, has allowed him to overcome adversaries who on paper should have defeated him long ago. Yet even with all of this, Luffy's entrance into the New World is marked by relative naivety. He has not yet encountered the true scale of Yonko power. He does not yet know what it means to face an opponent who can shrug off attacks that would decimate an ordinary army, an opponent whose physical resilience borders on the supernatural, and whose tactical and emotional intelligence can make even the most confident pirate hesitate. His encounters thus far, while harrowing, have been against individuals who, though formidable, are minor in comparison to the looming threats in the New World. At this point, Luffy also lacks major alliances that will later bolster his strength. He does not yet have the backing of the Heart Pirates, the Mink Tribe, the Samurai of Wano, or other influential groups who will help him challenge Yonko. His crew, though loyal and resourceful, is still limited in scale and capacity. The Straw Hats can handle many threats, but the overwhelming might of the Yonko, and Kaido in particular, requires more than just determination and individual skill. At the start of the New World, Luffy is essentially a lone wolf entering a forest full of beasts. His allies are with him, yes, but their combined strength is only sufficient to survive moderate threats, not a confrontation with the strongest creature alive. The mental and emotional landscape for Luffy is equally crucial. He is confident, fearless, and motivated by a desire to achieve his dream of becoming the Pirate King. This fearlessness is his greatest asset. It allows him to face danger head-on without hesitation. But it is also a potential vulnerability. Luffy's tendency to charge forward, to trust in his instincts and heart rather than carefully calculated plans, could lead him into traps, ambushes, or confrontations he is ill-prepared to survive. In the New World, where strategy and foresight are as deadly as raw power, this impulsiveness could be a double-edged sword. Another important aspect of Luffy's status is his understanding of the world and its hierarchy. At this stage, he knows about the Yonko, but only in abstract terms. They are powerful, dangerous, and largely untouchable. But he does not yet comprehend the full scale of their influence. the complexity of their networks, or the depth of the power gap between himself and these titans. Kaido, in particular, is a mystery, a legend whispered across the seas, a being whose name alone commands fear. Luffy has heard tales of his strength, of his indestructibility, of his ability to endure any attack and return stronger than before. These are not just stories, they are warnings. And yet Luffy's personality is such that he views these warnings not as deterrents, but as challenges. He is the type of pirate who thrives on confronting impossibilities, who draws strength from the very scale of the danger he faces. Despite this fearlessness, Luffy's vulnerabilities are glaring in comparison to what he will become. He has not yet experienced the brutal lessons that Wano will teach him. He has not yet mastered advanced forms of haki, nor has he unlocked the full potential of his devil fruit. His strategic awareness is limited, and his endurance, though extraordinary, is finite. Against Kaido, these limitations could mean the difference between life and death. Unlike mid-tier opponents, Kaido can inflict devastation with minimal effort, forcing Luffy to operate at the absolute edge of his abilities from the very first encounter. The New World is also a psychological crucible. It forces pirates to confront the terrifying reality that their power, no matter how exceptional, is often insufficient. For Luffy, this psychological challenge is compounded by his natural optimism and idealism. He has always believed in the ability to overcome, to adapt, and to achieve greatness through effort, courage, and the support of his friends. But in the New World, these traits are tested to their limits. Encountering Kaido at this stage is not merely a physical challenge, it is a test of Luffy's understanding of his own limits, his ability to adapt under extreme pressure, and his capacity to inspire hope in the face of overwhelming odds. Finally, Luffy's status at this moment is defined by potential. He has already shown that he can grow exponentially in response to challenges. Every battle teaches him new techniques, strengthens his resolve, and sharpens his instincts. But the New World and Kaido represent the ultimate accelerator. A confrontation at this early stage would force Luffy to confront the scale of his ambition in the harshest possible way. It would accelerate his growth in ways that are unpredictable, shaping not only his physical abilities but also his mental fortitude, his leadership skills, and his understanding of the world. In summary, at the start of the New World, Luffy is a paradox, immensely strong yet inexperienced, fearless yet untested, creative yet unrefined. He possesses the spirit of a pirate king, the physical prowess of a skilled fighter, and the heart of a hero. But he lacks the preparation, experience, and alliances that will later define his ability to confront Yonko-level threats. It is this combination of potential and vulnerability, courage and inexperience, determination and limitation that makes the prospect of facing Kaido at this moment so compelling and so terrifying. Luffy is standing at the threshold of greatness, yet the world before him is a storm of unimaginable danger. And it is within this storm that the ultimate question arises. Can he survive, adapt, and grow when the strongest creature alive comes crashing down upon him before he is ready? Before the first devastating clash of fists and haki, before the sea churns beneath the shadow of the strongest creature alive, Luffy stands at the precipice of a challenge unlike any he has ever faced. Kaido is not merely a formidable opponent. He is a living force of nature, a being whose reputation for destruction echoes throughout the New World. To face him at the very start of the New World requires more than courage. It demands preparation, strategy, and a deep understanding of one's own capabilities. Luffy's approach to preparation is characteristically unconventional. Unlike most pirates who might scout, spy, or rely on intelligence gathered by subordinates, Luffy's preparation is rooted in instinct, observation, and rapid adaptability. Even before he reaches Kaido's territory, he begins to analyze the environment, the currents, and the patterns of the islands. Every gust of wind, Every ripple in the water, every distant cry of seabirds becomes data, a subtle source of insight into the natural forces he will face. Luffy's understanding of the sea is instinctive, but in this case, it becomes tactical. He knows that the environment itself can be a weapon if used creatively. Waves can serve as shields, islands as obstacles or platforms, and debris as projectiles. The Straw Hats contribute to the preparation in crucial ways. Nami, with her unparalleled mastery of weather manipulation, begins to forecast the conditions of the seas surrounding Kaido's territory. Understanding wind patterns, storm surges, and the formation of dangerous currents allows Luffy to predict how the battlefield might shift. Usopp's sharpshooting skills and creativity in devising tools provide a layer of tactical flexibility. Anything from distraction devices to makeshift weapons could prove decisive in a confrontation with a Yonko. Jinbe, seasoned and experienced, offers insight into the patterns and strategies of powerful opponents, teaching Luffy subtle principles of movement, positioning, and timing. Together, the crew's contributions enhance Luffy's preparation, creating a synergy between instinct and strategic insight that maximizes his potential. Central to Luffy's preparation is the mastery and integration of haki. Observation haki, previously used in limited contexts, becomes a critical tool for anticipating Kaido's movements. Luffy trains himself to sense subtle shifts in the opponent's weight and posture to predict strikes before they manifest. This heightened awareness is essential. Kaido's sheer speed, strength, and destructive potential leave almost no margin for error. Armament haki is honed to provide both offense and defense, allowing Luffy to land strikes with increased impact while mitigating the destructive force of Kaido's attacks. Even Conqueror's haki, though not yet fully mastered, becomes a weapon of intimidation, influencing lesser opponents and testing the limits of Kaido's subordinates. The integration of all three haki types into his fighting style forms the backbone of Luffy's strategy, transforming instinctive combat into a more calculated approach. Devil Fruit abilities form another crucial aspect of Luffy's preparation. His Gomu Gomu no Mi powers allow for elasticity, resilience, and creative applications in combat. Each Gear Second Burst provides speed and mobility, while Gear Third offers raw power capable of altering the battlefield itself. However, Luffy's creativity is the key differentiator. He experiments with unconventional combinations, launching himself in unpredictable arcs, manipulating momentum, and using the environment to amplify the impact of his attacks. Every motion is a blend of strategy and instinct, a reflection of his adaptability under extreme pressure. This preparation ensures that Luffy is not merely a blunt force, but a dynamic and unpredictable threat capable of responding to Kaido's overwhelming power. Mental preparation is equally critical. Luffy must confront the reality of facing an opponent who dwarfs him in every conceivable way. The psychological toll of confronting the strongest creature alive cannot be underestimated. Fear, doubt, and the temptation to underestimate the magnitude of the challenge are constant adversaries. Luffy's approach is simple yet profound. He embraces the challenge. He channels his excitement, determination, and sheer willpower into focus, allowing instinct and creativity to dominate his strategy. This mental conditioning ensures that even when Kaido strikes with devastating force, Luffy remains adaptive, calculating, and unyielding. Understanding Kaido's strengths and tendencies also forms a critical part of preparation. Luffy has observed the Yonko through stories, intelligence from the crew, and environmental cues within the New World. Kaido's immense durability, destructive power, and aerial mobility are well known, and Luffy anticipates these factors in his planning. He understands that direct, repeated strikes are unlikely to yield victory. Instead, he must exploit openings, leverage timing, and use unpredictability to offset Kaido's raw strength. This tactical insight is subtle, but it shapes every movement, every burst of Gear Second, and every strategic deployment of haki. Luffy's preparation is less about matching Kaido's strength and more about creating conditions where his creativity and adaptability can thrive. The physical conditioning required to face Kaido at this stage cannot be overstated. Luffy's body is pushed to extremes in preparation, combining flexibility, resilience, and explosive power. Gear 2nd training focuses on stamina and precision, ensuring that bursts of speed do not leave him vulnerable. Gear 3rd exercises aim to maximize the destructive potential of each attack while minimizing self-damage. Even recovery periods are strategic, allowing Luffy to maintain peak performance across the high-intensity duration of the confrontation. This physical preparation is integrated with mental focus, creating a synergy between body, mind, and instinct that forms the foundation of Luffy's battle strategy. Tactical improvisation becomes a central element of preparation. Luffy anticipates that Kaido's overwhelming strength will make conventional strategies ineffective. To counter this, he practices using the environment dynamically, bouncing off waves, using debris as projectiles, and exploiting islands for leverage. He experiments with combining Haki and Devil Fruit abilities in unconventional ways, turning seemingly minor elements of the battlefield into advantages. This preparation emphasizes adaptability over brute force, creativity over predictability, and rapid response over rigid strategy. Luffy understands that survival depends on thinking several steps ahead, anticipating Kaido's reactions, and staying one move ahead in an otherwise overwhelming confrontation. Coordination with the crew also forms a subtle yet critical part of preparation. While Luffy is the primary combatant, the Straw Hats are positioned to provide strategic support. Nami's weather manipulation can create environmental obstacles or advantages. Zoro and Sanji can distract or redirect Kaido's attention, creating openings for Luffy. Jinbe provides insights into patterns of attack and defense, while Usopp can disrupt the environment with precision projectiles. Even Chopper and Robin contribute indirectly, maintaining the crew's cohesion and supporting Luffy's tactical decisions. This coordinated preparation ensures that the confrontation is not merely a solo endeavor, but a multi-dimensional engagement leveraging every resource available. Another element of Luffy's preparation involves psychological projection. He mentally rehearses potential outcomes, anticipating scenarios in which Kaido's strength overwhelms him. This mental visualization allows him to remain calm under extreme pressure, make split-second decisions, and pivot strategies mid-combat. Luffy's intuitive approach, blending imagination, experience, and instinct, creates a flexible strategy capable of adapting to the unpredictable flow of battle. It is this fusion of preparation, instinct, and creativity that distinguishes Luffy from less adaptive fighters and positions him as a unique challenge even for the mightiest Yonko. Finally, Luffy's preparation is rooted in his identity as a pirate. His audacity, determination, and refusal to accept limits form the philosophical foundation of his strategy. Unlike opponents who rely solely on experience, brute force, or intimidation, Luffy leverages his creativity, spirit, and unyielding resolve. This psychological advantage is subtle yet profound. Kaido may possess superior power, but Luffy's unpredictability, courage, and ability to innovate under pressure introduce a variable that cannot be quantified. The preparation is not merely physical or tactical, it is existential, reflecting Luffy's unique approach to life, combat, and the relentless pursuit of freedom on the seas. In conclusion, Luffy's preparation and strategy for facing Kaido at the start of the New World represent a synthesis of instinct, creativity, environmental awareness, Haki mastery, and psychological resilience. Every aspect of his approach, from physical conditioning to tactical improvisation, from coordination with the crew to mental rehearsal, forms an intricate tapestry of readiness. It is this preparation that allows Luffy to confront a being of seemingly insurmountable power, not with certainty of victory, but with the adaptability, ingenuity, and indomitable will necessary to survive and leave a lasting impact on the New World. The storm is brewing. The skies darken as the Thousand Sunny approaches the first island in the New World, its crew unaware of the danger lurking just beyond the horizon. A low rumble shakes the seas, and the water churns violently as an ominous shadow emerges, a presence so immense that it seems to devour the very light around it. Luffy, standing at the bow, feels the tension in the air, a vibration deep in his bones, warning him of an approaching threat unlike anything he has ever faced. The horizon cracks as Kaido descends, crashing onto the sea with the force of a living mountain, sending tidal waves cascading in every direction. This is no ordinary fight. Luffy, for all his confidence and past victories, has never faced an opponent of this magnitude. Kaido, the so-called strongest creature in the world, towers above the waves, his presence alone a display of raw power. The air shimmers with the intensity of his aura, and every beat of his wings sends shockwaves rippling through the ocean. The Straw Hats look on in stunned silence, realizing that they are witnessing something far beyond a typical New World threat. This is the embodiment of destruction, the pinnacle of power, and the first true test of Luffy's potential in these perilous seas. As the battle begins, the contrast between the two combatants is staggering. Luffy launches himself forward with gear second, his fists accelerating to a blur as he attempts to strike Kaido. Each punch lands with the force of cannon fire, yet it is barely enough to make the slightest dent in Kaido's massive frame. The strongest creature in the world barely flinches, a faint ripple of annoyance passing over his face as Luffy's attacks wash over him like raindrops on stone. Luffy spins, stretches, and lunges, deploying gear third to deliver a massive blow that could flatten a fortress, only to see it deflected effortlessly by Kaido's indestructible body. Each strike is a testament to Luffy's skill, creativity, and raw determination, but it is also a reminder of the yawning gap between him and the Yonko. Kaido counters with terrifying precision. One swipe of his kanabo crushes waves into foam, sending shockwaves that threaten to capsize the Thousand Sunny. Luffy narrowly evades, rolling across the surface of the sea, his reflexes pushed to their absolute limit. Every movement must be perfect, even the slightest miscalculation could be fatal. This is no longer a battle of strength alone. It is a battle of survival, creativity, and mental acuity. Luffy quickly realizes that conventional attacks will not work. The sheer durability of Kaido renders repeated blows almost meaningless, forcing him to think differently, to innovate under pressure, and to exploit even the smallest opportunity. The ocean becomes the battlefield. Waves rise like mountains, crashing against the two combatants, as if the sea itself is aware of the magnitude of their clash. Luffy uses his environment to his advantage, bouncing across waves, using the elasticity of his rubber body to launch himself with unpredictable angles and trajectories. He employs creative strategies, inflating his arms to deliver shockwave punches, ricocheting off debris, and exploiting the limited reaction time of even Kaido's immense frame. Every attack is a calculated risk, a test of instinct and timing, a gamble against overwhelming odds. Kaido, however, is relentless. His reactions are instantaneous, his strikes devastatingly precise, and his endurance seemingly limitless. Luffy begins to understand the horrifying scale of the challenge before him. Survival is the first priority, victory is an aspiration, and creativity is his only weapon against an otherwise insurmountable force. Despite the imbalance, Luffy refuses to yield. This is the core of his character, the ability to push beyond limits, to defy expectations, and to fight not because he is guaranteed to win, but because he refuses to accept defeat. Gear second becomes a blur of motion, each punch faster and more precise than the last. Gear third delivers colossal strikes aimed at Kaido's most vulnerable spots, testing the Yonko's reaction time and endurance. Luffy incorporates his observation haki to sense Kaido's movements, dodging attacks by fractions of seconds, predicting the trajectory of devastating blows that would obliterate lesser opponents. Every maneuver is a dance of survival, a blend of instinct, courage, and raw ingenuity. Kaido, observing Luffy's determination, reacts not merely as a warrior, but as a force of nature. His attacks grow more ferocious, his movements more destructive. Each strike threatens to tear the ocean apart, to obliterate islands, and to end lives indiscriminately. Yet Luffy adapts, using his rubber body to absorb impact, his elasticity to launch counterattacks from unexpected angles, and his creativity to exploit environmental factors. Rocks, debris, and waves are repurposed into weapons, transforming the battlefield into a dynamic arena where ingenuity becomes as important as raw strength. The intensity escalates. Luffy's attacks become faster, more inventive, and more unpredictable. Kaido, meanwhile, remains a mountain of indestructible power, shrugging off attacks that would have ended any other opponent. The sheer disparity in strength creates a tension unlike any Luffy has faced before. Yet this is also an opportunity, a crucible that will push him beyond anything previously imaginable. Each near miss, each blocked strike, each devastating counterattack becomes a lesson, teaching Luffy the importance of strategy, adaptability, and the limits of his own abilities. At the same time, Luffy's indomitable spirit shines through. He refuses to back down, refusing to allow fear to dictate his actions. Even as Kaido lands blows that would crush mountains, Luffy rises, creative solutions forming in his mind with every heartbeat. His resilience, resourcefulness, and refusal to surrender are not just physical traits. They are the essence of his identity as a pirate. Every creative attack, every calculated dodge, and every burst of haki-infused power is a declaration. Luffy will not be defeated, not today, not here, not ever. The battle is as much psychological as it is physical. Luffy realizes that sheer strength alone will not suffice. Kaido is too powerful, too experienced, too relentless. Luffy must rely on his ingenuity, his adaptability, and his unshakable resolve to find a path forward. The fight becomes a test of wits as well as endurance, a chess match played on a scale of unimaginable magnitude. Luffy's creativity is pushed to the absolute limit. He uses elastic slingshots to launch debris, combines gear second bursts with environmental advantages, and improvises techniques on the fly to keep Kaido off balance. Yet no matter what he does, Kaido adapts just as quickly, forcing Luffy to innovate even further. Amidst the chaos, the Straw Hats play a crucial role. While unable to match Kaido's power, their support becomes essential to Luffy's survival. Zoro, Sanji, and Jinbei act as distractions, creating openings for Luffy to exploit. Nami manipulates the weather, Usopp provides ranged support, and Chopper tends to the wounded. The battle becomes a symphony of chaos, with each crew member contributing to a delicate balance between survival and overwhelming odds. Luffy's ability to inspire his crew to coordinate under extreme pressure and to maintain focus amidst the destruction highlights not only his physical prowess but also his emerging leadership in the face of crisis. As the confrontation escalates, the magnitude of the new world's danger becomes clear. Luffy's strikes, no matter how creative or powerful, barely scratch Kaido. The Yonko retaliates with devastating attacks that reshape islands, send tidal waves crashing, and shatter the ocean's surface. Luffy dodges, counterattacks, and adapts continuously, but the physical and psychological toll is immense. Each second is a test of endurance, skill, and mental fortitude. Luffy must operate at the absolute edge of his abilities, relying on instinct, creativity, and the raw force of his will to survive. The intensity of the battle forces Luffy to evolve. He experiments with combinations of Gear Second and Gear Third, integrates Haki in new ways, and develops strategies under duress that he would not have conceived under ordinary circumstances. Each exchange with Kaido accelerates his growth, revealing the extraordinary capacity of a young pirate to adapt in real time to an opponent whose power seems insurmountable. The fight becomes more than a confrontation. It becomes a catalyst for transformation, a crucible that will shape Luffy into a pirate capable of challenging the Yonko not through luck, but through innovation, determination, and sheer willpower. Finally, the battle scenario emphasizes the stakes beyond mere survival. A single misstep, could obliterate Luffy, his crew, or even entire islands. Every strike, every movement, and every tactical decision carries consequences that extend beyond the battlefield. The fight becomes a narrative of struggle, resilience, and ingenuity, illustrating what it means to face an opponent who embodies both natural disaster and indomitable strength. It is a confrontation that tests not just the body, but the mind, the heart, and the very essence of Luffy's character. In conclusion, this battle scenario is not a simple clash of fists. It is a dynamic, high-stakes confrontation that challenges every facet of Luffy's being. Strength, creativity, adaptability, and indomitable spirit collide against overwhelming power, forcing Luffy to operate at the absolute edge of his potential. Every action, every counter, every burst of haki becomes a narrative in itself, a testament to the struggle of a young pirate facing the strongest creature in the world without preparation or the safety of hindsight. The battle becomes a defining moment, shaping Luffy's evolution, testing the limits of his abilities, and illustrating the terrifying yet exhilarating stakes of the new world. The clash between Luffy and Kaido does not conclude with a single strike, a single explosion, or a single declaration of victory. Instead, it leaves a wake of consequences that ripple across the new world, reshaping the seas, alliances, and the very perception of power. When the dust settles, both literally and figuratively, the world has seen something unprecedented. A young, inexperienced pirate standing toe-to-toe, however briefly, with the mightiest creature alive. The immediate aftermath of such a confrontation is as fascinating as the battle itself, touching every corner of the pirate world, the Marines, and even the Yonko hierarchy. First and foremost, the Straw Hat Pirates are irrevocably changed. The Thousand Sunny, though robust, bears the scars of the battle, its hull cracked, sails torn, and engines strained to the limit. The crew, while loyal and courageous, is shaken. Zoro, Sanji, Jinbe, and the others witness firsthand the terrifying scale of Kaido's power, realizing that their captain has stepped into a world far beyond what they had previously encountered. Their confidence in Luffy grows, yet it is tempered by the sobering understanding that even the strongest of them cannot challenge such a foe. Each crew member now carries a personal understanding of the stakes in the new world. Survival is no longer assured by skill alone. It requires ingenuity, strategy, and the willingness to endure unimaginable risks. For Luffy himself, the consequences are immediate and personal. The fight, though brief in the grand timeline, stretches him to the absolute limits of his physical and mental capacity. Gear Second leaves his body exhausted, muscles trembling with lactic acid, and joints strained from repeated bursts of superhuman force. Gear Third has taxed his skeletal structure, leaving him vulnerable in subtle ways he did not yet anticipate. Beyond the physical toll, Luffy's haki is pushed to unprecedented levels of output. His observation haki strains to predict attacks that move faster than he has ever encountered, while his armament haki struggles to compensate for the indestructibility of Kaido's body. This moment becomes a crucible, forcing Luffy to confront the uncomfortable reality that determination alone is insufficient against a force of this magnitude. Yet, within this strain lies growth. Every dodge, every counter, every burst of power leaves him sharper, faster, and more attuned to the mechanics of high-level combat. The psychological ramifications are equally profound. Facing Kaido at the start of the new world shatters Luffy's perception of his own limitations. The world suddenly feels larger, deadlier, and infinitely more complex than he had imagined. Fear, rare for Luffy, creeps into his consciousness not as paralysis, but as heightened awareness. He begins to internalize the fact that the new world does not reward impulsive strength alone. Precision, strategy, and timing are essential. The encounter forces him to reflect on past victories and defeats, extracting lessons at a pace that would have taken years under normal circumstances. In this crucible, Luffy begins to understand the stakes of the Yonko era. Power is relative, and survival depends on adaptability, ingenuity, and the ability to inspire allies. The impact of this confrontation is not limited to the immediate participants. Across the New World, whispers spread like wildfire. Pirates, marines, and civilians alike hear tales of the young Straw Hat captain who dared to challenge Kaido head-on. For some, these stories become legend almost instantly. Pirate crews that once dismissed Luffy as another ambitious rookie begin to reconsider, wary of the audacity and potential he displays. For Yonko territories, this is a warning. A new variable has entered the balance of power, a wild card capable of shaking even the most entrenched hierarchies. Luffy's name begins to circulate in conversations that previously only included the likes of Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido. He has not yet won, he has not yet conquered, but his audacity has made an impression that cannot be ignored. Meanwhile, the Marines are forced to reassess the status quo. News of a pirate daring to face Kaido at the start of the New World reaches marine intelligence networks, triggering reports that ripple up to the upper echelons. Figures like Sengoku and Garp, if still active in command, would take note, understanding the potential strategic implications. A pirate capable of engaging the strongest creature alive, even without victory, represents both a threat and a symbol. This encounter shifts the perception of power. Luffy is no longer just a rookie from the East Blue who survived the Grand Line. He is now a force whose trajectory could disrupt the existing balance of authority in the seas. The New World, in its chaotic unpredictability, has been alerted to the rise of a new contender. The battle also has immediate effects on Kaido himself. Unlike most adversaries Luffy has faced, Kaido is not easily shaken. Yet the audacity and unpredictability of Luffy's attacks leave a mark. The Yonko, accustomed to predictable patterns of submission or confrontation, now faces a pirate whose creativity, resilience, and indomitable spirit challenge his expectations. Even Kaido, a being of immense strength, must recalibrate his perception of Luffy. The battle demonstrates that sheer force is not always the decisive factor. Ingenuity, adaptability, and tenacity can unsettle even the mightiest opponents. This revelation may subtly alter Kaido's future decisions, strategies, or the manner in which he addresses threats within his territory. Another consequence manifests in the strategic landscape of the New World. Pirate crews, rival Yonko, and local powers all take note of this unprecedented clash. For other Yonko like Big Mom or Shanks, this is a moment of observation, an early warning sign that a new variable exists in the seas. For lesser pirates, Luffy becomes a symbol of audacity, inspiring crews to act with more boldness and initiative. Territories previously considered stable may now become contested as opportunists and ambitious captains recognize the chaos potential unleashed by Luffy's confrontation with Kaido. Alliances begin to shift, intelligence networks buzz with speculation, and the entire political landscape of the New World subtly realigns in response to a single defining encounter. The crew dynamics of the Straw Hats also undergo immediate change. Luffy's audacity, courage, and adaptability reinforce their trust in him, but also instill caution. They see firsthand the disparity in power between their captain and a Yonko, reminding them that raw determination is only part of survival. For Zoro, the battle reinforces the need for mastery over his own abilities, understanding that swords alone may not suffice against the overwhelming power of the New World. Sanji's speed, precision, and observation skills are tested in ways that force him to adapt his combat style. Jinbei's experience as a seasoned fighter becomes critical in maintaining tactical balance, while Nami, Usopp, and Chopper contribute in ways that underscore the importance of strategy, coordination, and creative thinking. Each member of the crew is subtly reshaped by the encounter, gaining insights that will influence future battles, strategies, and personal growth. Beyond the immediate tactical consequences, the battle has profound narrative implications. The encounter forces a reconsideration of Luffy's identity as a pirate. Until now, he has been defined by his audacity, his unyielding spirit, and his ability to overcome extraordinary odds. Facing Kaido at this stage, however, introduces a sobering realization. Audacity and courage alone are insufficient in the face of true omnipotence. Luffy must begin to balance determination with strategic thought, creativity with caution, and instinct with calculated risk. This moment, though brief, becomes a foundational experience that will shape his growth, leadership, and combat philosophy as he progresses through the new world. Moreover, the encounter accelerates Luffy's personal evolution. Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd, though already formidable, are now tested against a level of power that forces rapid refinement. Observation and armament haki, while previously limited, are pushed to their absolute limits, revealing gaps in mastery and potential for growth. The battle is a catalyst, compressing years of combat learning into a single, high-intensity encounter. Luffy's creative thinking, ability to improvise, and relentless perseverance are honed under extreme pressure, accelerating his trajectory toward becoming a Yonko-level threat. The physical landscape of the New World is also altered by the confrontation. Islands are scarred, waves reshaped, and the environment itself bears witness to the sheer magnitude of the clash. The very seas become a testament to Luffy's audacity and Kaido's power, a visible marker of the stakes involved in this era of pirate dominance. For those who witness the aftermath, other pirate crews, marines, and inhabitants of nearby islands, the scene becomes legend, a story of survival, ingenuity, and the relentless pursuit of greatness. Finally, the battle's immediate consequences extend to the broader narrative of the One Piece world. By daring to face Kaido at the start of the New World, Luffy disrupts the expected flow of events. His audacity alters perceptions, shifts alliances, and foreshadows the potential for future confrontations that could reshape the Yonko hierarchy. The encounter sets a precedent. Even the mightiest forces are not untouchable, and even a young, inexperienced pirate has the capacity to challenge destiny itself. This narrative ripple creates tension, anticipation, and excitement, establishing Luffy not merely as a rising star, but as a transformative force within the seas of the New World. In summary, the immediate consequences of Luffy confronting Kaido at the start of the New World are profound and multifaceted. Physically, Luffy and his crew are tested to their absolute limits. Psychologically, Luffy is forced to confront the scale of his own limitations while simultaneously discovering the extraordinary potential within himself. Strategically, the New World begins to react to his audacity, with pirates, Yonko, and Marines alike adjusting their perceptions and plans. Socially, Luffy's reputation grows, inspiring allies and intimidating rivals. Narratively, the encounter serves as a catalyst for accelerated growth, thematic development, and long-term implications that ripple across the seas. This single confrontation, brief though it may be, the aftermath of Luffy's audacious confrontation with Kaido extends far beyond the immediate battlefield. While the clash may have ended without a definitive victor, the consequences reverberate across the New World, shaping not only Luffy's trajectory, but also the balance of power, the perceptions of other pirates, and the future strategies of the Yonko themselves. This single encounter, seemingly isolated in time, acts as a fulcrum upon which the seas of the New World pivot, altering the narrative of One Piece in subtle and profound ways. For Luffy, the long-term ramifications are both personal and strategic. Physically, the encounter has accelerated his growth exponentially. The strains of Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd against an opponent of Kaido's magnitude force Luffy to refine his techniques far earlier than he would have otherwise. His elastic body, once limited in application to straightforward attacks, now becomes a tool for unpredictable maneuvers, environmental exploitation, and innovative combinations of haki and devil fruit power. Each narrowly avoided strike teaches him the limits of his reflexes, the importance of timing, and the necessity of reading an opponent beyond brute force. By surviving, he internalizes lessons that might otherwise have taken years to learn, compressing experiences into a crucible that hones both skill and instinct. The evolution of Luffy's haki is another significant long-term consequence. Observation. Haki, previously intuitive, now develops precision under extreme pressure. Luffy begins to sense minute shifts in Kaido's weight, subtle tensions in his movements, and the faintest changes in intent. Armament haki, pushed to its limits, begins to integrate seamlessly with his Gear Second and Gear Third techniques, creating a synergy that will later define his combat style. Even Conqueror's haki, which once appeared sporadically, starts to manifest in bursts of influence over Kaido's subordinates or minor environmental effects, hinting at the destructive potential that will later shape epic battles. This encounter accelerates his path toward mastery, establishing a foundation for the power that will eventually allow him to challenge Yonko on equal footing. Beyond physical growth, the battle leaves an indelible mark on Luffy's psychological and strategic mindset. Facing an opponent whose sheer strength dwarfs his own forces him to reconsider the nature of combat in the new world. Victory, he realizes, cannot rely on instinct or raw courage alone. It must be paired with creativity, patience, and tactical ingenuity. Luffy begins to understand the importance of preparation, reconnaissance, and alliances. While he retains his signature impulsiveness, the encounter fosters an early awareness of the complexities inherent in Yonko-level conflict. This experience plants the seeds of future strategies, alliances, and calculated risks that will later define his rise to power. The encounter also reshapes the Straw Hat Pirates' internal dynamics. Each crew member gains insight into their own strengths and limitations. Zoro, already fiercely ambitious, recognizes that raw swordsmanship alone is insufficient against foes of this caliber, prompting accelerated training and the exploration of haki-infused sword techniques. Sanji sees the value of combining speed, precision, and environmental awareness, adapting his martial prowess to a more strategic framework. Jinbei's experience as a seasoned fighter becomes even more critical, guiding the crew in coordinated defensive and offensive maneuvers. Even the less combat-oriented members, Nami, Usopp, Chopper, and Robin, emerge with a heightened understanding of tactical importance, environmental manipulation, and resourcefulness under extreme pressure. The Straw Hats, collectively, evolve into a crew more cohesive, adaptive, and battle-hardened than they would have been without this early confrontation. The repercussions extend to the broader New World as well. Pirate crews, Yonko territories, and even the Marines recalibrate their perceptions of threat and influence. Luffy's audacity inspires smaller crews to take bolder actions, destabilizing previously secure regions and forcing local powers to reconsider their strategies. News of a rookie pirate engaging Kaido spreads like wildfire, enhancing Luffy's reputation even without a clear victory. The narrative of impossible audacity begins to attach itself to his name, setting the stage for future alliances and fostering a legend that grows with each passing day. This early encounter positions Luffy as a wild card in the Yonko era, a young pirate whose presence can shift power dynamics in unforeseen ways. Kaido himself is affected in the long term. While his strength remains unmatched, the encounter introduces an anomaly, an unpredictable variable capable of challenging his expectations. Even a single momentary challenge forces Kaido to consider alternative defensive strategies, surveillance, and perhaps a subtle recalibration of how he addresses potential threats. This has cascading effects on his empire, his approach to subordinates, and his perception of emerging powers in the New World. A pirate who can survive, adapt, and innovate against his full might is not merely an opponent. He is a phenomenon that cannot be ignored. The ripple effects also influence the Marines. Intelligence networks that observe the clash begin to reassess Luffy's threat level. Figures like Sakazuki, Akainu, and fleet admirals recognize that Luffy's trajectory has accelerated beyond typical pirate growth. He is no longer merely a disruptive rookie, He is a rising force with the potential to destabilize Yonko territories and challenge the balance of power in ways previously thought impossible. Strategic recalibrations, resource allocations, and monitoring of Luffy's movements become priorities, even at this early stage. Moreover, the encounter redefines the narrative stakes for the New World. Luffy's confrontation with Kaido illustrates that the seas are not merely a domain of physical combat, but a theater for psychological resilience, strategic ingenuity, and rapid growth. The encounter underscores the unpredictable nature of pirate life in this era. Audacity can challenge destiny, creativity can overcome strength, and determination can carve a path where raw talent or overwhelming power seem insurmountable. The narrative potential for Luffy expands dramatically, creating a foundation for future arcs, conflicts, and legendary confrontations that redefine what it means to be a pirate in the Yonko era. On a personal level, Luffy emerges from the encounter with a heightened sense of purpose. He understands the stakes of the New World, the magnitude of the threats he faces, and the scale of the growth required to match them. Yet, he also experiences the thrill of testing his limits against the ultimate challenge. This duality, humility in the face of overwhelming power, combined with unwavering confidence in his potential, becomes a defining trait of Luffy's character. The encounter solidifies his role not merely as a rising pirate, but as a symbol of audacity, creativity, and indomitable will. The long-term ramifications also extend to the very structure of alliances and conflicts in the New World. Pirate crews begin to realign their priorities, Yonko reassess emerging threats, and territories once considered stable become contested. Luffy's audacity serves as a catalyst, accelerating the pace at which power dynamics shift and alliances form. The New World becomes a more volatile, unpredictable arena, with Luffy at its center as both a disruptor and an emerging leader. In conclusion, the long-term consequences of Luffy's early confrontation with Kaido are profound, multifaceted, and far-reaching. Luffy himself is accelerated in growth, learning critical lessons in combat, strategy, and psychological resilience. The Straw Hat crew is reshaped, emerging as a more cohesive and battle-hardened unit. The perceptions of pirates, Yonko, and Marines alike are altered, creating ripples that affect alliances, strategies, and territorial control. Kaido, though undiminished in power, must contend with an unpredictable force capable of challenging expectations. Most importantly, the narrative of the New World is forever changed. Audacity, creativity, and determination are elevated as defining traits, establishing Luffy not merely as a rising pirate, but as a transformative force capable of reshaping the seas themselves. This single confrontation, though it may have ended without a clear victor, establishes a foundation for the epic struggles, alliances, and legendary feats that will define Luffy's journey through the New World. It is a defining moment, a crucible of growth, and a reminder that even the mightiest adversaries can be challenged by courage, creativity, and indomitable will. In the long view, the New World is forever altered by the audacity of a young pirate who dared to face the strongest creature alive at the very start of his journey into uncharted seas. The seas of the New World are never the same after a single clash with Kaido. In this alternate timeline, where Luffy confronts the strongest creature alive at the very start of his journey into uncharted seas, the ripples extend far beyond the immediate battlefield. One moment the world remains in its precarious balance. The next, power hierarchies shake, alliances shift, and the very concept of what it means to be a pirate or a Yonko changes. Immediately following the battle, whispers spread across the seas. Word of a young pirate who dared to face Kaido before fully establishing himself in the New World spreads faster than the waves themselves. Merchant ships, fishing vessels, and remote islanders carry the tales from one port to the next. Even in the distant reaches of the Grand Line, rumors reach the ears of pirate crews and Marines alike. Some dismiss the reports as exaggeration, a fanciful story for entertainment. But others, those who understand the tone of the New World, recognize the implications. If Luffy survived, if he even landed a blow, or showed the ability to adapt against a Yonko, the balance of power has shifted, even if only slightly. The pirates themselves begin to react. The New World, previously defined by territorial dominance of the Yonko, sees a new variable introduced, a wildcard pirate who can challenge seemingly insurmountable power. Smaller crews who once relied on stealth, opportunism, or proximity to powerful factions begin to rethink their strategies. Some become emboldened, inspired by Luffy's audacity. They start to take risks they would never have considered, harassing Yonko-controlled territories, exploring the seas with newfound boldness, and even forming alliances with other ambitious crews. The legend of the Straw Hat spreads, becoming a symbol of audacity, courage, and the possibility that the impossible might be within reach. For the Yonko themselves, Luffy's early confrontation is a direct challenge to the established order. Kaido, shaken by the resilience and ingenuity of a young pirate, begins to reconsider how he addresses threats within his territories. Big Mom hears of the clash and takes note, understanding that Luffy is no ordinary upstart. Even Shanks, whose strategic foresight has always been impeccable, acknowledges the emergence of a new variable in the power equation. The Yonko, accustomed to controlling the narrative of strength and fear, now have to contend with a force they cannot predict, one whose audacity may ripple through the seas in unexpected ways. The Marines, too, recalibrate their understanding of the New World. Figures like Sakazuki Akainu recognize that Luffy's trajectory has been accelerated dramatically. No longer is he merely a disruptive rookie, he is now a growing force capable of challenging the balance of power among pirates. Naval deployments are adjusted, fleets are redirected, and intelligence networks begin to monitor the Straw Hat crew with unprecedented focus. Every movement, every port visited, every alliance considered by Luffy is now scrutinized with the understanding that he may become a decisive factor in maintaining or destabilizing the delicate order the Marines strive to uphold. Within the pirate world, the immediate effects manifest in shifting allegiances and power dynamics. Some crews, previously under the influence or protection of Kaido, reconsider their loyalty. They observe that a young pirate has stood against the Yonko and survived. If he can do so, perhaps the old hierarchy is not unbreakable. Opportunists and ambitious captains start plotting, some seeking to align with Luffy for protection or potential profit, while others begin preparing to challenge the status quo themselves. This subtle, cascading effect reshapes the politics of the New World, creating a landscape where strength is not only physical but also symbolic, a reflection of audacity and ingenuity. Even within Kaido's own ranks, the encounter leaves a mark. Commanders, subordinates, and allied forces recognize that the battle has exposed a vulnerability, not necessarily in Kaido's power, which remains overwhelming, but in the perception of invincibility that surrounds him. Doubt creeps subtly into the ranks, fostering a heightened awareness that the once unassailable might of their leader can be tested. Internal cohesion becomes critical. Kaido must now ensure loyalty not merely through fear, but through demonstrations of strategic foresight and reinforcement of dominance. The seeds of instability, however minor, have been planted. The ripple effect extends beyond pirates and marines to islands and civilizations themselves. Local populations witness the outcome of the battle, whether through first-hand observation, reports, or hearsay, and begin to reassess their place in the New World. Merchants, farmers, and independent traders recognize that the seas are increasingly unpredictable. They adjust trade routes, fortify settlements, and reconsider their allegiances. Some view Luffy as a symbol of hope, a champion who challenges the established tyranny of Yonko rule. Others view the encounter with caution, understanding that the rise of a new force may bring chaos alongside opportunity. These subtle social shifts are critical as they form the human backdrop against which future conflicts and alliances will unfold. The Grand Line itself seems to respond to the emergence of this new dynamic. The unpredictable weather patterns, volatile seas, and dangerous currents of the New World act almost as mirrors of the shifting balance of power. Storms intensify near Kaido's territories, creating natural obstacles that disrupt conventional navigation. Islands previously considered safe become contested spaces as crews test their capabilities against the unpredictability of the seas. The environment, in its chaotic grandeur, amplifies the consequences of Luffy's audacity, ensuring that the clash has both physical and symbolic implications across the New World. Strategically, the timeline diverges in multiple ways. Luffy, having faced Kaido early, begins his journey through the New World with knowledge, experience, and resilience far beyond what other pirates achieve at this stage. He understands the scale of threat posed by Yonko-level opponents, and he adapts his strategies accordingly. His crew, having witnessed the raw power of a Yonko firsthand, becomes more cohesive, disciplined, and innovative. This preparation allows them to navigate future conflicts with greater efficacy, often turning situations that might have been catastrophic into manageable challenges. The altered timeline creates a straw hat crew that is simultaneously more capable and more cautious, blending audacity with strategic foresight. The existence of a younger, audacious Luffy also changes the narrative trajectory of rival pirates. Figures like Blackbeard, Kid, and Law, who are already ambitious and opportunistic, now operate in a landscape where Luffy's early challenge to Kaido represents both threat and inspiration. Some accelerate their own plans for dominance, seeking to exploit weaknesses in established Yonko territories before Luffy consolidates influence. Others hesitate, recognizing that the unpredictable Straw Hat captain may disrupt even their most carefully laid strategies. This shifting dynamic creates a cascading effect across pirate politics, alliances, and conflicts, further reinforcing the impact of a single early confrontation. The long-term narrative implications extend even to the Yonko themselves. Kaido, once confident in his control over the seas, must now navigate a world where challenges appear sooner and with greater audacity. Big Mom adjusts her strategies in anticipation of unforeseen disruptions. Shanks, always aware of the subtle dynamics of power, observes cautiously, recognizing that Luffy represents a variable capable of altering the Yonko equilibrium. Even remaining neutral factions, previously disengaged from the chaotic politics of the Yonko era, now consider the Straw Hats as a central element in future conflicts. The timeline itself diverges, with Luffy's early confrontation acting as the catalyst for a fundamentally altered new world. Moreover, the symbolic weight of the battle cannot be underestimated. Luffy's confrontation with Kaido becomes legend almost immediately, inspiring songs, stories, and folklore across islands and ports. The narrative of audacity, courage, and defiance against overwhelming power resonates with people in ways that purely strategic victories rarely do. It is a story of possibility, of daring to challenge the impossible, and of survival through ingenuity and willpower. This legend fuels morale, shapes perceptions, and influences decisions across a wide array of actors in the New World, from pirate crews to marines, from civilians to rival Yonko. In addition, the encounter introduces subtle philosophical shifts across the pirate world. Until now, the New World is dominated by the idea that strength is absolute, that the Yonko are untouchable, and that survival depends on aligning with or avoiding these forces. Luffy's early challenge reshapes this perception. Courage, creativity, and adaptability emerge as equally important forms of strength. The narrative of inevitability, of predestined dominance by the Yonko, is disrupted. Pirates begin to see the seas not only as a domain of raw power, but as a canvas for ingenuity, audacity, and personal growth. This philosophical shift has profound implications for how conflicts unfold, how alliances are formed, and how the very nature of leadership is understood in the New World. Finally, the altered timeline establishes a foundation for future arcs. conflicts, and legendary confrontations. Luffy's early confrontation with Kaido accelerates his growth, reshapes alliances, and destabilizes previously predictable power structures. The Straw Hats evolve more quickly, becoming a force capable of operating at a level previously unimaginable for a crew at this stage. Rivals and allies alike adjust strategies in response to this new variable, creating a more dynamic, unpredictable, and narratively rich new world. Every action, every decision, and every battle in this alternate timeline carries consequences magnified by the audacity of a young pirate who dared to challenge the strongest creature alive. In summary, the alternate timeline resulting from Luffy's early clash with Kaido reshapes the seas of the new world across multiple dimensions. Power hierarchies shift, alliances reform, and perceptions of strength evolve. Pirates, Yonko, Marines, and civilians alike adjust their strategies, expectations, and behaviors in response to the unprecedented events. The Straw Hat crew grows stronger, wiser, and more cohesive, while Luffy himself gains experience, insight, and legend-building momentum far earlier than in the original timeline. Symbolically, the encounter elevates audacity, creativity, and adaptability as essential components of survival and dominance, redefining the narrative of the new world itself. This alternate timeline, born from a single audacious confrontation, illustrates the far-reaching consequences of challenging destiny head-on. It is a world where the seas are unpredictable, power is dynamic, and the actions of one determined pirate can reverberate across the entire Grand Line, setting the stage for epic adventures, unexpected alliances, and legendary conflicts that will redefine the era of the Yonko forever. As the waves calm and the dust of battle settles, the impact of Luffy's confrontation with Kaido becomes clearer, not only on the immediate battlefield, but across the entire new world. Unlike ordinary skirmishes that fade into history, this battle leaves a permanent mark, a legacy that alters perceptions of strength, audacity, and what it means to be a pirate. The confrontation becomes a turning point, a defining moment that echoes through the ages, shaping the future of individuals, crews, and the very structure of power in the seas. First and foremost, the battle cements Luffy's status as a symbol of audacity. Even in the original timeline, Luffy is known for his unyielding courage, his refusal to back down from insurmountable odds. But confronting Kaido at the very start of the new world amplifies this reputation exponentially. Across islands and territories, pirates and civilians alike tell stories of the young captain who dared to stand against the strongest creature alive with nothing but his courage, creativity, and raw determination. This narrative transcends mere hearsay. It becomes legend, inspiring countless individuals to challenge their own limits and reshaping the culture of the new world itself. Audacity, once reserved for seasoned pirates, now becomes an aspirational trait among aspiring crews. For the Straw Hat crew, the confrontation leaves a profound internal legacy. Each member, having witnessed firsthand the magnitude of Kaido's power, emerges transformed. Zoro, already obsessed with surpassing his limits, develops an even greater sense of discipline and a deeper understanding of haki. His pursuit of the ultimate swordsmanship becomes intertwined with tactical thinking, balancing instinct with foresight. Sanji, through his observation of Luffy's adaptability and courage, refines his own combat philosophy, combining speed, precision, and creativity in ways previously unimagined. Jinbei, as a mentor and guide, strengthens his role, ensuring that the crew operates as a cohesive unit capable of facing threats even beyond their current understanding. Even non-combat members undergo transformation. Nami's mastery over weather becomes more strategic, integrating combat knowledge with navigational skills to aid Luffy in future battles. Usopp's ingenuity blossoms into tactical brilliance. He learns to anticipate enemy behavior and environmental variables, providing support that could tip the scales in critical moments. Chopper and Robin enhance their situational awareness and adaptability, recognizing that survival and victory in the new world depend as much on intelligence and creativity as on raw strength. Collectively, the Straw Hat crew evolves into a formidable force capable of challenging the established power structures of the New World far earlier than in the original timeline. The legacy of the battle extends to the Yonko themselves. Kaido, though unshaken in his raw strength, now regards Luffy not merely as a nuisance, but as a genuine variable capable of influencing his empire. The audacity of a young pirate surviving or even partially challenging the strongest creature alive introduces a level of unpredictability previously absent. Big Mom, Shanks, and other major powers take note, reassessing the potential for unexpected threats to their territories. In this alternate timeline, the balance of power among the Yonko becomes more dynamic, less deterministic, and more reliant on adaptability, perception, and the actions of emerging forces like the Straw Hats. The Marines are similarly affected. Intelligence networks that previously focused on established pirates now shift attention to the Straw Hats. Figures such as Sakazuki Akainu recognize that Luffy's trajectory has been accelerated in ways previously unaccounted for. His early confrontation with Kaido demonstrates that he is capable of challenging the established order with a combination of courage, ingenuity, and raw power. Naval strategy begins to account for this unpredictable element, leading to new deployments, reconnaissance missions, and an increased emphasis on monitoring the Straw Hat crew. The Marine perception of the New World itself changes. Luffy embodies the possibility that the status quo can be challenged, and this realization forces them to adapt preemptively. Beyond the immediate consequences, the battle shapes the philosophical undercurrents of the New World. Until now, the seas have been dominated by the principle that raw strength and lineage define destiny. Yonko maintain their territories through fear, overwhelming power, and strategic alliances. But Luffy's audacious challenge demonstrates that determination, creativity, and adaptability are equally potent forms of strength. Pirates begin to value innovation and courage over mere raw power, and the culture of the seas shifts subtly but significantly. Luffy's example fosters an environment in which smaller crews believe that the impossible is achievable, sparking a proliferation of daring challenges, unexpected alliances, and rapid escalations in conflicts. The encounter also leaves a personal legacy for Luffy. The battle against Kaido accelerates his growth in ways that will affect every future confrontation. Haki mastery deepens. His devil fruit techniques evolve with creativity and precision, and his strategic mindset becomes more refined. Luffy learns firsthand the limits of power and the importance of adaptability, lessons that cannot be fully conveyed through training alone. This experience establishes a foundation for future victories, particularly against Yonko-level opponents, where the combination of ingenuity, audacity, and mastery of abilities becomes decisive. The symbolic significance of the encounter cannot be overstated. Across islands and pirate territories, the story of Luffy versus Kaido inspires songs, folklore, and tales of courage. This narrative resonates not only with pirates but also with civilians and independent crews, reinforcing the idea that audacity can challenge even the most overwhelming power. Luffy's legacy becomes one of possibility, creativity, and the triumph of determination against seemingly insurmountable odds. He is no longer just a pirate. He becomes a beacon of inspiration, a figure who redefines the limits of what is achievable in the new world. The timeline itself diverges as a result of this confrontation. In this alternate history, events unfold differently across multiple dimensions. Rival crews adjust their strategies in response to Luffy's audacity. Yonko recalibrate their approach to maintaining dominance, and Marines reconsider tactical deployments. Even seemingly minor decisions, alliances formed, territories defended, and battles chosen, take on amplified significance because the presence of Luffy at this level of capability creates a new baseline for what is possible. The new world becomes more dynamic, unpredictable, and narratively rich, with Luffy as a central catalyst of change. This alternate timeline also impacts key rivalries. Figures like Blackbeard, Kid, and Law are forced to reconsider their strategies in light of Luffy's early rise. Luffy's confrontation with Kaido establishes him as a wild card, a force capable of reshaping power structures. Rivalries intensify not merely because of direct competition, but because of the symbolic power Luffy wields as an agent of change. The clash becomes a reference point in strategic planning, influencing decisions about alliances, conflicts, and territorial expansion. On a personal level, the legacy of the battle instills in Luffy a deeper understanding of the consequences of audacity. He learns that courage and determination, while essential, must be paired with adaptability, foresight, and collaboration. This realization shapes his leadership style, informing decisions about crew coordination, alliance formation, and engagement with both pirates and Yonko. Luffy emerges not just stronger but wiser, someone capable of inspiring loyalty, fostering innovation, and navigating the unpredictable currents of the new world. The consequences of this early confrontation ripple forward, influencing major arcs and battles. Future encounters with Yonko, including Kaido's eventual return, are informed by the lessons of this first clash. Luffy's strategies, haki mastery, and understanding of opponent behavior evolve in response to these experiences. Even the broader narrative of the New World, conflicts, alliances, and power dynamics is fundamentally altered, creating a richer, more complex, and unpredictable story landscape. Finally, the legacy of Luffy's early confrontation with Kaido is not limited to power dynamics or strategy. It becomes a story about inspiration, possibility, and the enduring human or pirate spirit. Across the seas, Luffy embodies the idea that even the most insurmountable obstacles can be challenged with courage, ingenuity, and determination. His legacy shapes not only the tactical and strategic dimensions of the New World, but also its moral and cultural fabric, inspiring generations of pirates and adventurers to redefine what is possible. In conclusion, Luffy's confrontation with Kaido at the start of the New World is far more than a battle. It is a transformative event that reshapes the seas, the balance of power, and the narrative of One Piece itself. It accelerates Luffy's growth, strengthens the Straw Hat crew, influences rival pirates and Yonko, and alters marine strategy. Philosophically and culturally, it elevates audacity, creativity, and adaptability as central pillars of strength. The encounter leaves a lasting legacy, establishing Luffy as not only a pirate of extraordinary courage and skill, but also as a transformative force capable of reshaping the very fabric of the New World. This is the story of audacity meeting power, of creativity confronting raw strength, and of a young pirate whose actions echo across the seas long before his legend is fully realized. In this alternate timeline, Luffy's name becomes synonymous with possibility, courage, and the relentless pursuit of dreams, inspiring all who dare to challenge the impossible and leaving an indelible mark on the history of the New World.